Hey folks, Jason Dukes here with Dirt Race Life. So check this out. 1979 Z28 Camaro. This is gonna be our next build for Dirt Race Life. I am super excited about this. Y'all know I love leaf spring cars, and this being a 79 Generation 2 Camaro, it is a leaf spring car. These things are fantastic on the dirt track. Quick shout out here to my friends at American Recycling. I race with these guys, Nick Wright the father and Robert Wright the son. Great folks, and that is where this came from. We did a little horse trading. I did a little work on one of Nico's cars, and then this showed up at the house. But let's get started looking here. Yeah, I got a lot of work to do, y'all. Anyway, of course, I would call this a roller because you see I've got all of my suspension, steering and everything's on it, but no motor and transmission. And you see it's still got the 10 bolt 8.5 inch rear end there under it, leaf springs, everything's intact, which that's nice. Definitely has had a squirrel or two who has lived in this trunk over a winter, no doubt. And so that's probably all going to be rotted out, which that's fine. We're going to cut all of that out and throw it away anyway. But the body itself looks pretty deadgum good to me. Even I love, because it's Z28, so it's got the flares and all that. I love that. Love that. You see, yeah, that's probably where it's been pushed around in a junkyard some, to be honest. But everything looks great. I wish this nose right here had not been, it's just dry rotted and brittle and broke up. These are super expensive, but Dominator Race Products does have that nose now. They call it the Killer Z nose. So you can go check that out at dominatorraceproducts.com. I am definitely going to be reaching out, contacting them, and see if I can get that nose for the front, because to me, one of these old school Generation 2 Camaros, like, I want that Generation 2 Camaro nose on the car. This car right here, this build, I want it to have that old school look. I got some ideas we can talk about here. But yeah, so full roller, frame looks great, just light surface rust, you know, nothing serious. There's a little bit of rot. I'm not going to say there's not, but I would expect that these floorboards are going to be pretty terrible, okay? That's fine. Really, as long as I've got like a good tunnel and a good firewall, we can piece this stuff in as we need to. This side over here, this main rail down through here, it looks good. The other side, come here and check this out. This side over here, you can see where that's, you know, rotted through. I'm going to get rid of these frame rails right here anyway in our build. I've built a lot of Camaros. Let me see if I can get that. Well, I thought it was down. There it is. Yep. So anyway, I've built a lot of these Camaros over the years, and I've gotten this down to a pretty good science on the best way to do it. But we're going to come in here, and it'll seem a little bit strange at first, but we're actually going to cut this car into 3 pieces. And you're like, cut it into 3 pieces? What? Yeah, that's what we're going to do. The way it'll work is I'll take the front stub out from under it. All right, so this whole front stub right here, we'll just cut all the bolts loose and drop it out, okay? Then we're going to turn around. We're going to cut it on this pillar. We'll cut the pillars right here, okay? That way we maintain, keep that line at the angle it's supposed to be. It really helps us if I cut it here and not here, because that way I keep that line and that angle correct down through there. Otherwise, you'll end up maybe setting your top wrong and stuff. So I'll keep this line. I'll cut that off right there. And then turn around, and I'm going to come right in here in front of the leaf spring pocket, and I'm going to cut this car apart. So I'm going to have this front half that's the firewall and the floor plan here. I'll have that part, and then I'll have this back half. And what will happen is that I'll take this top right here and these outside skins, and I'm going to skin this thing out all the way around. So I'll just take and go down through here and skin that around, and I'll leave this and skin this out, and I'll take this body with the top off of it, and so I'll have this inner part. So then when we get the car cut apart, then the next thing is going to be, well, get Rachel's car out the way. I'm just about ready to set the motor back in it where it'll be ready to go for the next season. But we're going to set this jig down on the floor. This, I call it a jig, but really it's just a huge square that's a 6-inch, 6-inch by 8-inch H-beam iron, super heavy. But I don't actually have fixtures where that I repeat the same car build over and over and over. So as far as jigs go, there's not a lot of jigging, but it does give me a solid mount surface that I can put temporary fixturing on. But there's nothing I'm going to do in this build that you can't do at home. Before I built that, when I had a friend of mine donate that H-beam to me, I was still building these leaf spring Camaros, and I would use jack stands in the floor, and I would literally just set the parts and pieces on jack stands and, put in pieces of scrap steel and like weld little bars down to the ground to make them sit and stay still, and I would just put the whole thing together on a concrete floor. There's no difference. As long as you've got it secured, it doesn't matter whether I'm on a big steel, plate or, up on that platform, which that platform is like 30 inches off the ground. It just makes it where it's, at a good height for me to work on stuff. That's the difference. And it just holds it securely. But I could just as easily take a jack stand and take a concrete screw and screw that down where it wouldn't move and turn around and take some straps and strap it down tight to jack stands where it can't move. Like, there is a way. I used to do it, but it's way before I had Dirt Race Life, way before I was filming all of the stuff that we were doing in the shop. So if you don't have a jig, that does not mean you can't build your own car. If you've got a Camaro, you can follow right along. You do what I'm doing, you will build a race-winning car. Well, if you can drive. See, that's my problem. But anyway, we don't talk about that. Regardless, I cut it up into 3 pieces. I take the front stub and I mount it. Then I turn around, I take the firewall and the floor pan, I leave it out of the way. I take the back half, I pull the blueprint out. If you need to see a blueprint, go to dirtracelife.com. I've got a link to a Camaro blueprint, metric blueprint, all of that stuff. I will take this rear half and by the blueprint, I will line this thing up on my jig exactly how it should be for it to be correct for its geometry. And then I will go to building the roll cage and I will tie it together and make one solid frame using tubing. And then I will put the firewall and the floor pan back in place at the right time. There are some tubes we're going to do before we put that in place, and then we'll add that back in. Then we'll build the roll cage and stuff, and then the last thing will be like adding all of this back. Here's another thing that may be different that you're going to see in this build that I consider to be a hack that'll really help you to get the body right later and build a car that really holds up well. When we do this, I may eventually get rid of all of this inner pillar post metal, all of this inner part right here. That may all leave, and back here, whoa, hey. I may get rid of all of this trunk floor and all of that eventually, and this back piece and stuff, but not at first when I'm doing the roll cage. And the reason that I won't is because I'll take, and when I mount all of that up, then that turn around and that guides me on where my roll cage needs to be for me to have a perimeter roll cage that's going to be right inside the body that I can weld tabs onto, and when I go to put the body back on the car, it just fits right into place and it's in the correct place. So it's we'll leave all the inner metal on there, we'll get it on the jig, and we'll go to put the roll cage, all of the main big tubes and stuff in place and line them up where they follow the body lines and stuff, and it creates that perimeter tubing and stuff. We'll then turn around, and then after I've done that and I put tabs on them that I'll turn around and be able to bolt the body to, then I can cut all that inner metal away. And it's a very common mistake that people will make is that they just get rid of everything to start. you got to be really good on the body to get the body back on there and right. A lot of times you're like, man, that car looks weird. It don't look like factory. It don't look like what it did on the street. And that's part of the reason why, because it's not actually sitting where it should be or how it should be. Now, I've got a lot of ideas about what I want to do with this car. Let me tell you a few things here. They're just jumping out at me. Like, this car's already talking to me, you know? Like, for example, I want to do old school. I've got a set of 1510 rims that I can run on this car, and I can run the asphalt pull-offs that are like, you know, 12 or 14 inches wide total on the width of the tire. And I want to do a low hood, get all this mounted down low and tight. So I want this car to really have a low, sleek stance. And then I want to turn around and I want to do that flared out fender that just flattens out. It's got that flat lip and got that big fat, you know, asphalt pull-off tire that's sitting out there. You know, would love to have some chrome rims on it, but these are powder coat silver. You know, so like smooth all that up, get that big flared out fender all the way around the car. You know, give it that old school look. You know, definitely keeping in, you know, my spoiler back here. Man, these are getting hard to find, that they're not broke off, tore up, or already gone. I was surprised to see that was still in place. You know, so yeah, so I want to do the flare. I'm going to mount the body as tight as I can because I want that stance. I want that look with those big fat tires. Another thing that I want to do is I want to do as close to stock as I can. So, like, for example, we're not going to set the motor back. We're not going to cut in and make room for the fuel pump over here. Instead, we're going to set the motor low and tight in forward, where it would have been more like where it would have been factory, maybe a little bit lower. I'm thinking no brake bias. Now, I won't run this master cylinder, and I won't run a power booster, but I think I am going to put a stock master cylinder on it that's capable of running disc brakes front and back. We're probably going to make our own pedal for it. We'll run our own steering shaft. We will repurpose and use the slip joint right here for safety, and also so we don't get bind in our joints. But we'll turn around and all the column's going to come out. Now, we're going to sit back a little bit further in the car, but not a lot. We're going to target to put that, we're going to have two roll bars on the cage back here. And what we'll target is that we're going to have one roll bar right in here, and my head will be beside it. I want my vision to clear this doorway right here. So when I look sideways, none of this is blocking my vision. So that roll cage tubing is going to be right in here. I'm going to be sitting right about right here, which is about 12 inches back. And then the second one will be about 8 more inches back right in here. This will be my true cage back here, come forward. The front halo, I won't run all the way out here. I'll stop right in here because as you get longer, you're making it weaker. And somewhere right in here, what I'll be looking at here is that I want my down tube bar to somewhat follow this. So I'll drop back some. I'll follow that line down through there is what I'll do. I'll follow that line. And so the front will be right in here. So I'll keep the top of the dash right here for the firewall, and that'll give me a good reference point to line everything up. I'll have a tube that'll come across here that like my steering column and stuff would be mounted to, and it's actually going to be back just a little bit into the driver's compartment. And what we'll do is we'll just put a piece of aluminum that will go from here back to that tube to fill that in. We are going to do an open driver's compartment both sides. I've got this idea about how to build a Generation 2 Camaro that can like fit the rules anywhere. And it will use like all OEM parts everywhere it can. Like I may change out and like do different upper and lower ball joints and have to do, you know, some hacks and some tricks and some things to make the car faster and work better. But when you look at the car, what you see is you see, you know, OEM control arms on the car, both on the top and bottom. You know, you see bolt-in ball joints that have got Moog part numbers and stuff. You know, you see tie rod ends and center links and stuff that's all OEM parts everywhere. But yet the car is winning races. And I think we're at a point where we can do that. I've been wanting to go back, and if anything, I think building some cool cars cars and learning what it takes to race them has really kind of opened up my eyes and my brain to like how to build one of these cars to make it really legit fast and be able to compete, at any level, but build it in a way where when it rolls through tech, it doesn't matter what ground floor entry class it's in, it passes. I'm not sure you noticed, but I am super excited about this build right here. Everything about this build, we're gonna put it all on all of our media platforms. So wherever you like to follow us, make sure you turn the notifications on, that you're subscribed, that you're following. And then I try to take, and when I push the videos out, I take and try to load them, but they are different place to place. So you will not hurt my feelings if you follow us everywhere. That would be great for us, for sure. But yeah, it's probably gonna take about 3 months to do it. I think it's gonna be 15 to 20 videos where we cut it down to be every one of the episodes is an important element of either how I'm going about building it, the decisions I'm making, the setup, the choice in the parts I'm using, where I'm positioning them. Like we'll look at the roll center geometry when we use all stock stuff and like, what does that look like? And how do we get it to work better? And the bump steer and how to get those rear leaf springs to get the kind of forward drive that we need, but keeping the car where it enters well and carries speed and rolls around the corner. All of that and more. So stay tuned. I will see you next time.